So guys, in this video, I'm not going to use any edits or jump cuts or anything like that. What I want to do today is walk you through a very, very interesting video I saw from the guys at the Perpetual Traffic podcast. And they had a guest on by the name of John Moran. And he's an extremely knowledgeable Google Ads guy, has an agency, very much cares deeply about his work with Google Ads. And I've watched his content for a while when he's been guest appearing on different podcasts, but I don't normally share these kind of things on my channel because, generally speaking, I just read or watch podcasts and then kind of, retain the knowledge, put it into practice, and that's it. What I want to do today is actually introduce you to what was discussed in this podcast for the simple reason it is actually a bit crazy because we've all had our suspicions about Google. Going to smart bidding and using Google Ads smart bidding, I've seen, as I keep saying, I get better results using smart bidding than I do with manual CPC. I've made a video previously about manual CPC being dead, but there are caveats in that take because although manual CPC can't adjust bids real time when people are looking for your services and products on Google, it controls what you spend on the platform, whereas you moving to a smart bidding strategy does mean you can bid more intelligently, get more conversions, generally at a better cost. If you want to scale your campaign and you start trying to push your budget, or you give Google too much budget, issues can arise. And what John is looking at here, which I'm going to show you when I start playing this video, is it's actually way more sinister than that, and he has the evidence to prove it. So the question I stated in the title and of this video is, are Google robbing us? And the answer after you watch this is probably going to be yes. So let's jump in and listen to what John has to say on the subject.
What I think I can reverse engineer the algorithm if it's actually a price fixing model. What's interesting about this is Google is running around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to call every Tom, Dick, and Harry that has a Google Ads account and said, we need GA4, we need enhanced conversions, we need this and that and everything else. The loss of cookies means a loss of revenue for Google. Why? That's because if Google doesn't understand how much that traffic is valuable to you, they can't arbitrarily increase your CPC.
So I'm stopping it there because that opening there is insane in itself, because John is right. Google does like GA4. They want everybody to use GA4. They've put GA4 into the same guides as Google Ads. They link the two platforms together, and they do push enhanced conversions. And I suppose the advantage of enhanced conversions is kind of self-explanatory. You can enrich your conversion data when you don't have cookie tracking enabled, when people opt out of cookies. Yeah, you can get some data back into the platform from people submitting forms on your website, so it seems like a win-win for the customer because ultimately you get more data. But as John is alluding to here, how is Google using your conversion data? Is it simply a case of they are reporting on conversions, or as John just said when I paused the video, are they arbitrarily increasing click costs based on the fact they know how much you're paying for your conversions and they're estimating how much more you can afford to pay for those conversions to arbitrarily increase their profits as a result of this knowledge? Because you are sharing your conversion point with Google. How they behave when they know your conversion point, let's let John continue to explain this because it's super interesting.
And I'm sure that everybody that has been inside of a Google Ads dashboard that is listening here today, ask yourself if you have seen your CPCs increase without really knowing why or questioning that, where it's, why am I paying more for the same amount of traffic? Now,
I'm sure you guys have seen this too. I've made videos about this as well, where, CPCs in the last 3 years have gone up nearly 40%. And my last video talks about how Google is actually struggling. And John is echoing exactly that point. People are asking, and it's not just me, it's not just you, it's everybody. Why are my click costs increasing so much? So listen out to this.
Official answer is, well, there's upper level auctions that you can only get into if you pay more CPC. That's the literal definition of price fixing. We won't let you play unless you pay. That's what that is. So I thought, okay, well, the conversion algorithm is going to see a CPA and a ROAS that looks healthy. And as you increase ad spend, it's a signal to Google by saying, you're happy, let's add more ad spend. Well, because you're happy, you'll pay more for it. So this is one of the literal definitions why companies can't scale. Why I scale and I dip ROAS. I scale and I increase CPA. While yes, that is a factual a factual
law of diminishing returns.
Yeah, but it's also when you're looking at the amount of traffic that driving to a site, you have three. I talked about this before. You have three main buckets: the cold, the warm, and the hot. Which is like people that have never heard about you, the people that have heard about you, and the people that want to buy from you. Right. When you add an ad spend, you can only increase the people that have never heard from you. If they're not ready to buy yet, you can't increase all levels of the funnel at the same time. So yes, CPA increases and ROAS does dip temporarily.
Sure,
is what it should. It should dip temporarily. It dips permanently sometimes because Google's just like, well, now your click went from $2.50 to $3.33. So unless your conversion rate increases drastically, you will hit that point of diminishing returns.
So that's interesting, and it's something I always ask myself on Google Ads as well, because, right, say you're a company and you're spending $100 a day on Google Ads, and you're right, it's working really well for me, I'm going to increase my budget to get more sales. Now, of course, as John alluded to there, and the way Google explains things as well, is when you increase your budget, it means Google will increase your click costs as well, because they want to include you in more auctions as a result of increasing your click costs. And reaching those higher level auctions, Google makes you pay a premium to do that. So what tends to happen is it goes on a curve. It's never linear, it's always a curve. And that curve means you will get more traffic and you will get more conversions, but you'll pay more for those conversions. And that's always been kind of the explanation and the trade-off that you'd be looking for. What John's saying here, and what I'm seeing as well, is when you start adding more money to a lot of these campaigns, you don't get the return on your side of the benefit of more conversions. All you're doing is giving Google more money for the same number of conversions. That's the ceiling we're talking about here, where it should continue to increase on that curve, on that line, to kind of say, you know, more money in, more conversions, but you pay a bit more for them. That curve is now gone and it's kind of stayed at the same level, where it's kind of, I'll put more money in, I'm not getting the conversions or returns that I want. And you're basically in a situation where you're paying more for the same number of conversions. And that's where it's getting to on Google Ads a little bit at the moment. So let's listen to this.
It's fixed. It's a price fixed model. Google rewards itself because it shows how much good value to you. So the reason why I'm starting to think about, well, Google's panicking because they're going to lose out on the amount of conversion value they know that you have. Also, Google is panicking that if you don't see that conversion value, you'll stop spending. If Google says if they stop seeing the conversion value, meaning the advertiser stops seeing the conversion value and they're going to stop spending, that is an indicator for me to know that that's also what Google is watching. So whenever you're using TROAS or TCPA, a target return ad spend or targets cost per acquisition, or if you're using maximize conversion value, when the traffic becomes more valuable, that's when you'll see also your CPC increase. So this is what I thought is, okay, if it is tracking that, and if that's
Stop
yeah.
right there. Say that again, because that is key to this whole thing. And if you think about like what's best for Google, like they know you want that stuff. Exactly. They know you want that, so they're gonna charge you more as a result. Mm-hmm. Of the fact that they've figured out, based upon conversion tracking, this is what this advertiser wants, and it's automated within the algorithm. So say that one again and just make sure that we get that clear, because I think that's an important concept.
Yep. I'll do you one better. I will do a screen share here.
So that's interesting. That is actually crazy, because ultimately what he's saying there is Google knows what your conversion point is, and because it knows that conversion point is what you want, how does it work in the real world, in a commercial environment, when you have something somebody wants and you're selling it, because ultimately Google are selling this conversion, they are going to charge you for it, and they can increase the price based on knowing that that is what you want. So let's have a look at the data John is going to share here, because as I said at the beginning of this video, it's all well and good us knowing that, you know, in our gut, kind of, you know, Google is probably going to charge us more. But John's actually going to show us here. So let's look at this, because this is crazy. Watch this.
And I will show you the points that Google is increasing my CPC as I increase my as I increase my cost. Now, here's what's crazy. This is a company that works fairly well. It is something that is we sell little tons of rocks through shopping. Like rocks. Bulk gravel, river rocks. Yeah, for like a front yard. Not sexy stuff. And there's really no one else doing this. This is a graph here of a CPC and cost. every Monday, I'd hop in and dump $100 more per day. And we started at about $400 a day, and then we've increased it now to about $1,000 a day. And if I collapse this here, you'll see that there's a weird bump in CPC where costs went up, so did CPC. 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 Every Monday. I'm like, this is weird. Now, I'll disprove the naysayers out there by going into change history and showing that this is just a budget change, a budget change, a budget change, a budget change, a budget change. I can't make this any more clear. Literal, just a I'm not messing around with, well, maybe you're doing a bid, maybe you're doing, nope. Okay. I'm just doing budget changes.
All right.
Now,
so that's interesting. This is exactly what we're talking about here. He's done nothing in this campaign but increasing the budget, and on a Monday, like clockwork, Google is also increasing the CPC. The CPC and the budget are intertwined more than we think. It used to be a case, I remember, of, if you increase your budget only a little bit, then you shouldn't really see much of a change in CPCs. And if you really push your budget massively, Google has a lot more room to bid more aggressively, and they can basically go into those, what they call higher level auctions. And you're going to pay more for those auctions, but you basically end up with more conversions, but a higher charge for them. What this demonstrates is, even at a low level, with low budgets increasing very slightly, you're going to get that bump in CPC, because going back to John's point, Google knows this is the thing you want. Here are your conversions. I can see your conversions in your account. I know this is what's valuable to you. I want to see how much value I can extract from you based on the fact we know this is what you want. If you're a business where you're paying $20 a lead and you increase your budget to see how much more you can pay $20 for a lead, to see if I increase from $100 to $120, am I still going to pay $20 for a lead? Possibly, but this model is showing here Google's first thought is actually, how can we extract more CPC as a result of this? That is the difference. Let's have a look at what he continues to say.
I'm going to interrupt you there again, because if you are listening to this and any of this makes sense, first off, it should, and we're going to reiterate this. This is fairly technical stuff. This is in the weeds, all right? But you have got to go over to our YouTube channel to see what John just showed. And that is perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Like, we're going to be producing lots of videos, obviously, around this idea here. But this is a huge deal, like a huge discovery. And you stumbled on it, or just sort of reverse engineered, figured, okay, if I try to do this, then it might work. But the point is it's actually working. And if this isn't one case, you said that there's 10 specific cases that you've tried this on.
Mm-hmm. I have even an extreme example where we didn't track conversions for a year for one client, because I was watching their lead flow through their HubSpot account, because long story short, they built a new website with a new bad developer. And when they tried to charge them arbitrarily, the client said no. And they said, well, you can't have access to your website. So we couldn't install conversion tracking. But that campaign never went over $1 in CPC. And I was like, there you go. All of a sudden I started conversion tracking and it went to like $1.80, $2, $4. I'm like, well, there you go.
That's just crazy. That's crazy. This is the part of the video I really wanted to kind of share with you guys, because this is the craziest bit, because here's how crazy it is. I made a video not long ago. I'm sure you guys probably remember it if you've been watching my content for a while now, when I said manual CPC is dead. And on the face of it, based on results I was getting in the businesses I've worked with, it was basically, I've migrated maybe at this point more than 20, probably less than 30, but more than 20 clients on to smart bidding, away from manual CPC, very successfully. Manual CPC capped their growth. They didn't really see much growth outside of what they were doing at a steady rate. Moving to smart bidding allowed them to grow, get more business, get more leads at similar cost to what they were achieving. And that was great. And the demonstration in that data is clear. What John is saying is that the upper echelons of what Google is doing now, if you wanted to scale your account and you hit that ceiling that we were talking about just earlier in this video, where Google is going to charge you a premium for your traffic, meaning that you can't actually scale because you end up with diminishing returns as a result of those high CPCs, Google is basically using that conversion data. And John just said there, he had a client on manual CPC for a year because of conversion tracking issues, and the CPC stayed steady. It didn't change. Now, of course, with manual CPC, you cap your CPCs. But what you're going to hear in a second, and what I'm insinuating when I'm saying this, is the client was obviously getting leads at a good cost while this period was going on. They were on manual CPC for a year with 0 conversion tracking. Let's see what John says about this, because without conversion tracking, manual CPC was the only option really to maintain control of the account and to try and get some semblance of results. But it turns out that his traffic costs stayed low, and the offset value of that lower traffic cost meant, even without smart bidding, positive ROI could be achieved.
Here's something else that I think that you got to hop over to YouTube. If you're listening right now, stop the Perpetual Traffic podcast from your phone, go to your computer, and look at this. This is the clicks and conversion value. Now let's go back to kind of the state range here. This is the clicks and conversion value going nicely in the right good line here. Mm-hmm. If you look at also the conversion value and the CPC, also going in a nice 27 cents all the way up to 61 cents. It literally doubled from March 25th to May 20th. So in less than 2 months, I now pay more than 2x my CPC. Now, this campaign already has a 5x return. So I'm already making decent money, but that's what Google loves. It's like, oh, you have a 5x ROAS. Yeah, I'm going to double your CPC on you. And I'll prove it here in the next screen share.
So 2 screen shares that prove the same thing. Basically, when conversion value increases, CPC increases because they know that's valuable to you.
Exactly.
And this is not like an isolated case, but it's sort of a simple correlation in a lot of ways. But like, you live and breathe this stuff, and you've noticed this trend over time. And then the idea was, okay, well, I get that. That's part of like the deal. Mm-hmm.
I didn't accept it though.
But you didn't accept it.
Right.
You did.
So I put my tinfoil hat on, locked my doors, and I said, I'm going to try something. I said,
just for an FYI, I think I'm going to need a tinfoil hat in a second myself after watching this, because this is insane.
That I'm going to.
I know you've got like multiple hats.
I know, right?
Pretty sure.
All made of tinfoil.
Well, a lot of tin. A lot of tin at the Moran household.
Google's after my brain with the satellites. I know it. So I said, here's what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to reverse this. I set up a series of events. I took my conversion tracking and I swapped it over to an arbitrary conversion tracking that had historical values but don't have a lot or even recent history, which Google is now going to take as face value as, oh, it's just a different conversion action, not something that is new. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, I then set it up so that it is actually not necessarily tracking conversions, but still firing through a Google Tag Manager. So that is not something called tag inactive. Google's going to see it as valuable. Number 3, I made sure that the campaign is using an actual sales goal or sales objective. One is either leads or sales. Number 4, I'm swapping over from a automated bidding strategy to manual CPC with a 30% CPC reduction as to what my average CPC was last week. And then when Google sees that it is a conversion action that is live, that is valid, that is active, that's not new, and that my campaign, because the campaign algorithm is different than the conversion action algorithm. Conversion action algorithm was uninterrupted, but the campaign algorithm to the conversion objective, which is either goals or sales, is now going to look like this is becoming less valuable to itself. So what is it going to do? It's going to try to level the playing field. It's going to give me a spike in traffic, a lower CPC, a better positioning, and I'm going to achieve the results that I want to achieve without having to increase my CPC. Google is actually going to reward me with a static flatline CPC until the thing looks better, because that's what target CPA or target ROAS does. When your conversion value or conversions start to dip, Google rewards you with some more free traffic to get you back up to where you were fat and happy so that you can continue to scale. And Google compounds this revenue by not only getting more revenue per day, but also revenue per click. So it's a 1 + 1 = 3 for Google. That test is amazing.
Why wouldn't you go manual CPC?
Oh, I did. That's what I'm saying. I went over to manual CPC, and I did without eCPC enabled so that Google can't adjust my bids.
So let's pause there. What he just said there was basically he did a reset on a campaign with an existing conversion point. He moved it away from what it was to, he moved it from an account level conversion point to a campaign level conversion point. Google saw it as an active conversion, but he didn't use this for smart bidding. He moved over from smart bidding to manual CPC with 0 eCPC. And he's basically seeing a trend where Google is rewarding his campaign with cheaper traffic because of the lack of conversions. Google is seeing the conversions aren't coming through at the rate they used to and the success that they used to, because Google has that historic data against the conversion, even though that reset procedure was performed. It means that Google is basically adjusting traffic costs and giving you levels of traffic to compete with people based on whether or not your conversion point is working for you or not. Now, you might think to yourself, well, obviously, if you use manual CPC and you cap your bids, you're going to get cheaper traffic. But what should happen is, remember, with manual CPC, with cheaper traffic, you are competing against people with smart bidding with higher cost traffic. And if it was an actual auction, you would lose every time. You would get basically 0 visibility. Imagine 5 businesses paying $4 or $5 per click, and then your business is set a max CPC with a manual bidding strategy at $1.50 a click. Technically, in that scenario, you should basically get nothing. You should get no clicks, no visibility, nothing. What John is saying here is the opposite happened, because Google historically saw, oh, things were good. You were getting conversions. You were on a smart bidding strategy. Things are now not so good, so we're going to reward you with cheaper traffic to try and get you back to where you were, to give you faith in our product and give you the opportunity to get conversions. Now, again, I would normally kind of ignore this outright, because people say a lot of things. People have a lot of gut feelings. But what I'm seeing here in this conversation is examples. I'm seeing data. I'm seeing experimentation from a very, very good Google Ads strategist. And I'm blown away. I'm going to be quite honest with you. It's a bit crazy. So when I get to the end of this, I just want to kind of give you my overall thoughts on this and what we should do as advertisers next. But let's continue watching, because there's one more thing I want to show you.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the eCPC is the thing that obviously they're like, well, now he's making more money.
Exactly.
But okay. So just for those of us listening, like this is obviously a big revelation here, but it stands to reason. Like as you scale, like this is one of the problems why agencies reach a certain level of scale, probably for your business. If you're listening to this, you're a director of marketing and you can't scale, or your Google Ads agency, your Google guy on board, can't scale. The problem is that this is at the heart of the issue, really, is this specific fact, which we've always suspected it. We've always sort of realized it. You see it. Obviously, you've seen it for years and years, but the way around it is a very dramatic solution. And that takes a lot of balls to do what you've done, which is, I guess I'm sort of teeing up sort of the next phase. Like, how do you actually solve this? Now that we've proved that that's the case.
Yep.
We've proved that Google is price fixing.
And I will share a screen share which will prove that for the first time in history.
It's a good thing we don't have any friends at Google. We have friends at Meta, TikTok, like all the other ones. Nobody at Google likes us, so we can say whatever the hell we want. So feel free to bash the alphabeters.
To all of my friends that work at Google, please know that I still want to remain friends. I love you all.
Oh my God.
Well, I think our big bag is stop gouging us, please.
Stop gouging, please.
I will spend more money if I'm not penalized for it. I'll spend even more. But for the first time in history, we will disprove the theory that Google's metrics are actually driven by us and not controlled by Google. And this is the result of test number 1. This here is the date range that I changed. I actually changed it on the 30th of May. From the 31st of May to the 11th of June, my clicks have gone up 105%. Went from 1,800 to 3,700. My cost went down $600. My search impression share went up 75%. My click share went up 42%. My conversions went from 113 to 0, which is what I want.
Right.
Now, my in-app metrics, because I killed conversion tracking, is now 0.
Right.
That's exactly what I want. That's what's catalyzing this. Then,
so Google's like, this campaign is tanking. I better lower this guy's costs.
Yep.
The welfare effect of let me provide extra support for you right now.
Exactly. The social construct of don't let anybody leave, don't let anybody left behind, don't leave anybody behind. I'm going to reward you by bringing you back up to the top. So my average cost went from $6.03 to $2.77. It's a 54% reduction in CPC. And everybody here listening is going to say, ha ha ha, well, there goes your positioning. Well, my search top impression share, how often I'm in the number 1 through 4 spot, went up 76%. And my search absolute top impression share, which means how often was I number 1 on the page, went up 10%.
That's just insane. That's ridiculous. That's actually ridiculous. Think about it. He's removed conversion tracking from his campaign, but it's still an active conversion in the account, so Google will honor that as knowing the campaign is struggling. As a result of the campaign struggling, Google has clearly rewarded this advertiser. He's gone onto manual CPCs, paying less for his traffic, $600 of savings in that time period. A very short time period, mind you, and a very small campaign. So as a percentage, that's a huge saving. Now, when you drop your bids and you drop them down, you're going to say, as John said there, your visibility is going to drop as well, because obviously it's an auction, right? You're going to get more visibility because you're paying more for your traffic. If you lower your bids, you're going to get less visibility. He has gained visibility. He has gained visibility with manual CPC, paying less for his traffic. Google hasn't capped him. Google hasn't said, hey, we're going to lower you down the page because you can't even compete. He didn't get any below first bid page statuses on his keywords. And even if he did, he's still getting visibility. He's clearly getting sales here. Now, he's not talked about sales specifically just yet. We'll get onto that. But what you're seeing here is the opposite of what Google says, the opposite of conventional wisdom, and the opposite of how Google Ads is supposed to work as an auction. I bid here, you bid down here, I get the visibility, you don't. Yes, quality score plays a bit of a factor in that, in terms of relevance, but all things being equal, that's how Google Ads is supposed to work. What we're seeing right now with this evidence is that with a lower CPC, with manual CPC, poor conversion volume coming in as a result of a campaign that used to have loads of conversions, Google recognizes this and thinks we need to save the customer, make them get results from Google. We're going to reward them with loads of cheap traffic, loads of visibility to make sure that they can get something from Google because they're clearly going downhill. So this is clearly a very suspicious behavior in Google Ads. It's very suspicious. It's very worrying, actually. So let's watch the rest of this.
So I don't know an auction in history where I can bid 54% less than the person next to me and win.
All right, retrotraffic.com/YouTube. Where you got to go there.
Join us in our combined sigh of
the look of just Lauren's look alone. I think it's worth it to go over to the YouTube side, because you're just using their own algorithm against them for your own benefit. But what you're really doing is you're monitoring in real time. Obviously, the CRM. I'm not familiar with this customer specifically, but their sales. Mm-hmm. In this particular case, of heavy equipment, really, it's like you're seeing that. Where are you measuring your success? If you're figuring this out, and those are dramatic changes.
I'm glad you asked. In the back end, we have a tool that identifies exactly what their sales are. And this is something that...
So he's about to tell you about the back-end sales of this business, because obviously the first thought you might have is, yeah, they're getting more traffic, more visibility, but I bet their sales have tanked because Google isn't using any of those success factors of the smart bidding to understand who the customer is and bid towards that action you have recording in your account. Watch this.
We use as our North Star. And I can only do this when I'm measuring your business performance metrics, your conversion engine metrics. Those are something we have to know. The conversion engine metrics are vital to literally your entire existence in business on the digital landscape.
That could be a whole episode unto itself.
Oh, it will be.
It will be.
It will be.
Coming soon.
The first week I did this, or the first 10 days I did this here, and that's on tracking. I can't read you off the title here, but just know that this is the same title that's in the Google Ads account. You'll just kind of have to trust me that we're blurring it out. My sales went from $18,124 to $27,099. So we basically increased $9,000.
I want to break something. This is ridiculous. The company achieved massive increases in sales after making this change, after giving Google less data to work with from a conversion perspective. They got rewarded with a bunch of cheap traffic. The initial thought is this traffic's not going to convert that well because it's kind of blind traffic using no signals, understanding the conversion point. No, they achieved $9,000 more sales than they would have done otherwise. Crazy, crazy stuff right here.
And we paid $600 less for it because our traffic doubled. Now, here's the most fun part in the world. Jesus. This is one of my other favorite ones. I have a really high quality CPC keyword, search keyword here. A really high quality search keyword. It's actually about a government certification, so everyone wants that keyword. Right. The first page bid is $22.29. I went from paying $9.74 down to $6.65. So I am now paying 1/4 of the targeted bid that I would need to spend in order to just get on the first page at the bottom. So I pay 31% less now. My click-through rate went from 6% to 21%.
This is ridiculous as well, because did you see at the beginning of that little segment he did there? That keyword had a below first page bid status. It was red. It was showing that there's no way to play for this keyword, but yet Google have given him these metrics. He's got increased visibility, increased click-through rate, and this keyword has gone from very kind of slow, high costing to getting lots more visibility, much more click-through rate by virtue of a better positioning, and it's costing him way less. This is insane.
And my clicks went from 10 to 18. And how would I get a 21% click-through rate when I'm bidding 1/4 of the recommended bid that automated bidding would have used in order to get me to the first page? That is absolute insanity.
Everything we've learned about marketing is like being, well, at least inside, Ads Manager, Google Ads Manager. Of course, the question is can we do the same thing with Meta? That might be a secondary.
I got to start.
We'll figure that out there.
I'm going to end it there. I suggest you go over to the Perpetual Traffic podcast and watch the whole video. It's a very interesting episode. So I've linked it in the description below to check out. So watch that video because this is a fantastic episode and it really opened my eyes to many things. But the first things I want to mention is, okay, we know this now. We know Google is gaming the system, and we know that on the face of it, from a starting point perspective, to go from manual CPC to smart bidding to get your initial growth and visibility and improvements, yeah, it works. It makes sense. As I said, I've done it more than 20 times to clients to move them from manual CPC to smart bidding. We've seen improvements in the campaign. But when you hit that ceiling and you want to scale, it turns out from what John has shown us here, we need to test what happens. And as it was said in this podcast, it takes some balls to do that. Can you imagine calling a client up if you're a PPC manager, or if you work internally and you're speaking to your boss and saying, yeah, we've got this crazy automated AI-powered smart bidding. We've scaled the campaign and we've hit kind of a ceiling. So do you know what we want to do? We want to go back to manual CPC, and furthermore, we want to remove the conversion tracking from the account as well, so it's got nothing to work from. How does that sound? Is there any marketing director that will sign off on that? Is there any agency director that will sign off on one of their account managers making that suggestion? The answer is probably, in fact, definitely no. But yet John has tried this, and as it was said, it takes some balls to do that, so fair play to him. I can't say I'd do that. I don't think I would have done that, actually. And he's done it, and he's kind of seen, okay, we've got more visibility, more traffic. There's no conversions in the account, but in the back end of the business, there is incremental sales from the traffic. There is incremental sales from traffic. And that's ultimately what businesses want. They don't care about smart bidding. They don't care about conversion tracking. They don't care about Google Ads as a platform. Businesses ultimately care about, are you moving the needle on my sales? And Google Ads, Meta, whatever it might be, are tools to enable us to do so. So what do we do with this information? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grow a pair of balls and make one of these tests with one of my clients. Of course, I'm not going to do it without telling them. I'm going to have that conversation. I'm going to share this video I'm making with them and kind of explain to them, we have grown over time. We've basically hit a ceiling in performance. I think it's worth testing this. I suggest everybody has these hard conversations if you're in a position to do so. Now, if you're a new campaign or a small campaign with very little volume, there's no point in even trying this because there's a lot more to go at with automated smart bidding. And for the size of business you are, you might be in a situation, and I've got clients like this, where you have enough leads. You don't need to worry about anything else. Your leads coming in at a good cost. They're consistent. You don't want to kind of rock the boat on something that's working really well. If you're in a business where you've had consistently hit a ceiling for a long period of time, I'm talking maybe a year or a long period of time, this is something to test. And it's something I'm going to test. And it's something I'm going to report back to you guys on based on what I find when running this same testing. The second thing I want to say is there any Google Ads engineer working in Silicon Valley who can please be a whistleblower? Please, just somebody who's building this platform, writing the code, writing the bidding algorithm, writing down what it's supposed to be doing with our money in the back end. Just be the hero we need in the industry. Leak what's going on, hold Google to account, and hopefully give us the opportunity to recoup what's going on. Now, of course, as I say, Google's a private business. It's very unlikely that we'll be able to have any influence on what they are doing. And ultimately, the question that you should all ask yourselves in advertising is what I'm doing working? Is ROI positive? If the answer is yes, everything else is less important because you're generating sales, you're moving the needle on a business, and you're moving forward. It's when you're capped and you're not really moving forward, this can become a potential opportunity. Do I still think Google Ads is the best place to advertise? Absolutely. It's the only place people are looking for what you do. So I wouldn't say to you, stop advertising on Google. There's no future in Google Ads, because ultimately John Moran, as you saw here on the video, he's a Google Ads agency owner, and he's never going to stop running Google Ads while clients and customers get results from the platform. Why would you? If there's results to be had, get the results. But ultimately now, for me, I'm going to be testing. I'm going to test this theory myself, because although John has got a few campaigns with some good data to kind of show what's happening, and I believe him clearly from my frustration in this video, I clearly believe him. It will be good to do this for myself as well. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and the Perpetual podcast as well, because that's a very good podcast, as you can see. And let me know in the comments what you think. Is it something you've suspected for a long time? Is it something that you've been worried about? Let me know in the comments if you've had enough of Google Ads, and I will hopefully alleviate your pain and say to you, hey, you still need to be here because it's where people are looking. But let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next video.